Okay. What do I do? So I'll get started. Okay. Maddie,
Yeah,
给
we
我
can let
来。
people in.
Maddie, you want to turn on your video?
Sandra, you need to make me co-host too.
Did I make you? No, not yet. So check to see if you are all co-host.
Okay, yeah, now I'm co-host. Okay.
Okay. So I'll start.
Okay, great.
哎，PCE 的这个新老朋友，大家好啊！我们9月份的2次活动呢非常特殊啊，我们不是直接讲 parenting，我们想给大家做2个非常非常及时和有效的关于升学的一些内容的介绍。我们特别请了石慧老师和他的 business partner，还有他带的几名年轻学生呢，跟大家分享。第一个呢，就是说升学我们如何。把这个时间安排好要避免这个拖延症怎么和孩子们交谈，以及包括这个他们有一个行之有效的一个 program 那我们的第二场呢，就是明天我们请的是艾令黄给大家讲说升学的文书要注意哪些事情，怎么才能让你自己在这个招生官面前在众多的学生中脱颖而出。那我们 PCE 呢是在新泽西20年以前、21年以前成立的一个非营利组织，非宗教、非政治、非营利组织。我们这个主要的宗旨呢，就是说育儿就是育己，成长就是成功。所以我们是觉得我们要跟家长和孩子要一起成长。那现在呢，升学这个已经是越来越这个内容越来越多，越来越复杂。所以我们今天呢，就特意请石慧老师和他带的团队呢，给我们带出今天一场和明天一场2场讲座，还有他们行之有效的服务。那现在我就把时间呢交给石慧老师。
没问题，没问题，谢谢 Sandra。哎，我把自己来，哎，哎，大家可以看到吗？我先跟大家讲讲说我们为什么要有这样的服务和我们的初衷是怎么样，然后我们是怎么样开始的。开始呢是因为我的好朋友 Amanda 呢，她在和我呢在新泽西，我们在新泽西呢都是心理医生。那我们在做心理医生的时候，遇到一个什么现象呢？就说很多孩子呢，他到我们这里来，他需要的其实不是我们所谓通常意义上面的心理治疗，而是他需要的是一种我们专业讲叫做执行功能的训练。那我们心理医生呢，当然也是做执行功能的训练，但是心理医生看一次多贵啊，对吧？然后呢，这个执行功能的训练其实也不只需要每周一次，它需要每周多于一次的这样的服务。然后呢，你这些心理医生都是有博士学位的，你看他们这个价格是对于家长来说是非常昂贵的。那所以 Amanda 和我就想说怎么样能够既帮到孩子们，既让孩子们得到这些执行功能的训练这样的服务。又没有，就是说又要降低这样的花费所以我们呢就成立了一个program，叫做 The Prep Program。那我们的 Prep Program 呢，就是专门来做这个执行功能的训练。那我们这个 Prep Program 跟其他的执行功能，先说一下什么叫做执行功能训练啊？就是因为很多孩子呢，他完不成作业，他完不成任务，他或者是作业写完了忘带了，他这些东西呢，他不是因为他的心理的疾病，或者是因为他的智力的问题造成的，而是说呢，他因为他没有学会，他因为各种各样的原因，可能生活压力过大。学习压力过大，或者是有 ADHD 这样的，或者是有其他的学习障碍，或者是有啊啊，因为这些原因呢，他不是说这些孩子懒或者是笨，而是说呢，他没有这些技能呢，让他能够，其实他的这些作业，他如果他是会写的，他并不是说不会写，但是呢，他就是完不成，因为他没有学会执行功能，他没有学会时间管理，他没有学会怎么样这个来能够让我把这些任务完成。那所以我们就成立了这个 Prep Program 呢，是为了帮助大家这些。那我们跟其他的人的做法有什么不同呢？就说我们会以我们这样执照心理医生的这个作为他这个学生的 supervisor，然后我们来培训我们一些年轻人做教练。 那这样就大大的降低了这个执行功能的它需要的费用。然后呢，也增加了这个服务的，就是能够提供服务的人群的这个人群的能力。所以说呢，这个是我们的初衷。那后来呢，我们就看到说，哦，其实在这个申请大学的时候，很多孩子也有这样的难处，就是说这些孩子不是不优秀，他也不是说不想要上好的大学，他也不是说不会写或者是没有能力写，嗯，所以呢，但是呢，他就是完不成。那这里面呢，很多家长其实并不知道怎么样帮助这些孩子所以说呢，我们今天就来讨论这样的一个话题。So today we're going to have four speakers, right? So besides me, there's going to be Dr. Amanda Ferrola. She is the co-founder and she works with me for the prep program I just told you guys about. And then we have two wonderful high school seniors who are joining us, Maddie and Ian, and they're going to share with you about their personal experience. They're actually going through this themselves, right? They're applying for college right now as we speak, right? So they are really understand the difficulties and what kind of support they need. So yeah, so we're gonna, get started. But before we officially get started, I want to give everybody an opportunity to introduce themselves. So Amanda, could you unmute and introduce yourself?
Yes, hi, I'm Dr. Amanda Ferriola. You're welcome to call me Amanda. Like Hoy said, I'm the co-founder of the PrEP program. I'm really excited to be here. I'm a pediatric psychologist by trade, so I do a lot of work with behavior difficulties, ADHD, different neurodevelopmental disorders, anxiety, OCD. I'm the director of the Tourette Syndrome Clinic at Rutgers, and I also work in private practice on the side. This is a pet project of Hui and mine that we've been developing for a few years. So we're excited to speak to you today.
Great. Thanks, Amanda. How about Maddie?
Hi everyone, my name is Maddie. I'm a little sick right now, so if my voice sounds a little nasally, that's why. But yeah, I'm a senior in high school, like Shuhui was saying, and I'm going through this process myself, and I've been really grateful and have the ability to work with the prep program to help people with executive functioning skills, and I'm really excited to talk about college applications today. So yeah.
How about you, Ian?
Hi, my name's Ian. I'm also a senior. I go to Scarsdale High School. Um, like Maddie, I'm also going through the college application process. And while it is very stressful, there are ways that you can make it easier on yourself. So I'm excited to talk about that today. So yeah.
Great, great. We're gonna get started on our presentation. Let me share screen. Okay. So this is our topic. We're talking about focus and finish and how to help student acquire these executive functioning skills to combat perfectionism and procrastination and basically get their college application done. So there are four of us who are presenting. This is our agenda. We're going to introduce you to two case examples to introduce you to various challenges the student face. And then Amanda and I are going to talk about like what are the cycles of procrastination and perfectionism? Why do these things happen to our children? What doesn't work and what does work, and what we can do to help these students. And at the end, Maddie and Ian are going to tell us, based on the two case examples that they introduced, they're gonna tell us what we can actually do to help these students. So we're gonna get started. Go ahead, Maddie.
Okay, so the first case study that we have is dealing with perfectionism. And I have a person here called Emily. Like me and Ian, she's a senior in high school. And like many of your children and many people that you know, she loves to challenge herself. So she takes many AP and honors level courses. Now, Emily loves to write and is really excited to create an impactful essay for college applications. And she keeps saying that she wants to write the perfect college essay, but she hasn't been able to start writing anything.
Okay, does that sound like any of your student? Okay.
So basically, one incident that happened in Emily's life was she was assigned by an English teacher to write a rough draft for her college application essay. And because Emily really loves to write and she wants to write a very creative essay, she wants to create an innovative essay topic. And as a result, she spends hours working on different ideas, trying to brainstorm new creative takes on her life. And because she really wants to write the so-called perfect essay, she continues to delete and rewrite and edit her essay, deleting a lot of chunks or adding a lot of chunks because she feels like it isn't perfect yet. And she pulls what a lot of students call an all-nighter. If you don't know what that is, it's basically when you don't go to bed, you just do work instead. So she pulls an all-nighter to try and get her essay finished before her project deadline, which leads to a lot of sleep deprivation. So she's really stressed about writing her essay, and as a result, she pulls an all-nighter.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the next day, Emily is talking to her friend Samantha, and Samantha shows Emily her essay, and Samantha's really proud of it. She thinks that it's a really good essay. She's really proud of what she wrote. But instead of praising her friend, Emily negatively compares her own essay to Samantha's essay, which causes Samantha to feel stressed. So she says things like, "Oh, I think you could have written this better," or like, "I wouldn't have written that." She kind of compares the essays together, and that makes Samantha feel a lot of pressure on herself as well because the pressure that Emily put on herself to make her essay perfect is now being transferred to Samantha. Now, Emily turns in her essay. She ends up getting a 90 on it, which in her standards is a pretty low grade. So for the next rough draft, because she was going through so much stress and a lot of pressure for her original rough draft essay, she puts it off in fear that she'll get another so-called bad grade. And she ends up getting a 70 on her essay because she put the task off in fear of making mistakes. And that's basically an example of how perfectionism impacts Emily's life in terms of the college application process.
And this is such a good example, Maddie. Before we move on, if you guys have any questions, feel free to put it in the chat box. And when I see it, I can either post this question right now for our speaker to answer live, or at the end we'll have time for Q&A.
Okay, so our next example here is a boy named Ryan, and essentially he procrastinates a lot, right? So he's a senior in high school, and the thing is, he is a very smart kid. I mean, in his elementary and middle school, he got good grades, and when he really wants to achieve something, he'll do it well. But like many other teenage boys, he loves to play video games. I mean, like myself, I also do like playing video games, but Ryan really likes playing video games. And most importantly, he is motivated to attend a good college, but he is often procrastinating on his applications. So that is a problem that he has to fix.
Mhm.
Okay, so what exactly is happening in Ryan's life? Like, how is procrastination really affecting his life? Essentially, Ryan has one early decision application that is due in a week. An early decision is basically when you apply to school, like usually the due dates for schools are January 1st, but you can apply early to school and that's usually in like November or something. So Ryan has this early decision application that's due in a week, and he tells his mother that he's fine and that he'll get to it and that he has enough time. And so instead of doing his work, he decides to binge 10 episodes of the Netflix series Grey's Anatomy. And even when he finally does start doing his work, he ends up playing 3 hours of Super Mario instead. So it's not going well for Ryan in terms of his progress in his applications. And finally, the day before the due date, Ryan, he finally takes out his computer and now it's time to cram in all his work. And he even does this with some Grey's Anatomy in the background as background noise. I actually put this because my brother does that a lot. Like when he's procrastinating, he has this not Grey's Anatomy, but he has something in the background. And most importantly, because he started so late, his application is super messy and super unorganized, and his essays maybe are not as well written as they could have been had he started earlier.
Mhm. Okay. Okay, thanks, Maddie and Ian. Amanda, all yours.
All right. So we're going to talk a little bit now about what is happening here. So I'm sure that you are all here because you've seen either your children or your students or relatives get into one or both of these stories or similar stories. And so we're going to talk a little bit about the cycles of procrastination and perfectionism. Slide. All right. So when we think about what happens, generally the first thing that happens is we're presented with a task. So we're either assigned homework or we have nothing to do. And so we know it's time to start either planning for the essay or writing the essay or filling out the application. And so as you can see, when the task is presented, our fear and anxiety starts to increase. And really, what that's telling us is that this is a task we care about. This is something that's important to us. Otherwise, the fear or anxiety would not be present. And as it builds and builds, it's a very human reaction to then avoid. Because all of a sudden we're confronted with these really strong emotions, right? This fear and anxiety that wasn't there before, and it feels bad. So we decide to do something else. And that moment at the top there, when we decide to do something else, when we decide to avoid, we experience this moment of temporary relief. All of a sudden, that fear and anxiety is alleviated, and we no longer have it. And there are plenty of things people do to avoid, and some are pretty clever. Sometimes it's binge watching Netflix, and sometimes it's playing Mario Kart. But other times it's reading and rereading a prompt. Sometimes it's doing homework. Sometimes it's cleaning the house. Sometimes it's just reassuring yourself, oh, I'm going to do it tomorrow because I'm a little too tired right now. These are all different types of avoidance because it doesn't really matter what the task is. It's not the task that you're afraid of doing. And so what ends up happening is we start to have these negative beliefs. We think, oh, we actually can't do the task, or it's too much for us, because we now have kind of evidence that when we're presented with the task, we decide to do something else instead. And so it becomes this negative reinforcement cycle. So we are presented with the task, we avoid because we experience anxiety, and then the avoidance is reinforced because we feel better after we avoid. And what, unfortunately, right, if this was just the cycle and it played out forever, potentially it would be something that we could overcome. But what happens when we avoid it is we make the fear and anxiety worse. So it actually increases the more frequently we avoid. So once we're presented with that prompt, with that start of the task, our fear and anxiety skyrockets. So I'm sure you've very gently reminded, again, either your children or your students, oh, don't you have that college essay? And potentially they've snapped back in some way at you. And what you're experiencing there is that prompt, right, that reminder, and then that expression of the fear and anxiety.
Yeah. Sometimes having this argument with mom is almost it's also an avoidance behavior, right? So I'm open my computer, I'm about to do my college essay. I have all these thoughts about what if I don't get in? What if my essay is not good enough? And my mom is here giving me like a little gentle reminder, and then I pick a big fight with her. I have this huge reaction because now I'm gonna have a fight with my mom, and I have the perfect excuse for not doing my essay because my mom is not being understanding enough for me to do it. And today is just not the right day because my mom is being annoying.
Exactly. So here is just another kind of example laid out of this cycle that we're talking about. So the homework that or task we're presented with, right, the college essay, causes psychological stress, causes that fear or anxiety. So we engage in another non-homework related task, fighting with our parent, playing Mario Kart, doing a task adjacent repetitive thing like reading and rereading a prompt, something that we might convince ourselves is helpful but isn't actually. And then we experience that temporary relief from feelings of anxiety and fear. And we're inadvertently learning, we're teaching ourselves that homework is harmful and that it needs to be avoided because our bodies have that physiological reaction to that fear, and we're choosing flight, we're choosing to run away. And so we are, by evolution, designed to then respond similarly after when we're teaching our body that something is actually dangerous. And then our anxiety increases when we're presented with homework again, just reinforcing that cycle.
Mm-hmm.
So this is something that we talk about when we think about like cognitive behavioral therapy. So there are three separate things to consider. So in the context of completing a college application, a person might experience thoughts, feelings, and behaviors. So examples of thoughts that students might have, my essay has to be the best or I won't get in. What if I got into a much worse school than Amy or Julie? This is impossible to finish. I have way too much to do. So our thoughts impact our feelings and our behaviors. So the feelings we feel, right, again, are that fear and anxiety, anticipation. And then the behaviors, how we respond in the presence of those thoughts and feelings. We might put it off to the next day, scroll through social media, spend too much time deciding on what essay topic is the most perfect topic to choose. So when we think about intervention, we have all of these different things to consider, and we want to try to separate them out because it makes it just a little bit more clear where it's helpful to intervene and where we might not really be able to.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So there are various reasons for procrastination. So one can be pure boredom, negative beliefs like we were talking about before. I won't get in. I'm not good enough. I can't do this. Perfectionism is definitely a reason people procrastinate. Then we have anxiety and fear that comes along with it, and pure distraction. We all live in a world where we have regular access to pretty much anything we want, and we're constantly bombarded with little hits of dopamine through our phones and our emails. Text messages and other social media platforms, making it really hard to concentrate for long periods of time because they're designed for that purpose, especially. And so, generally it's in combination with one of these other reasons, but distractions are a really big part of the procrastination cycle.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So now we're going to talk, right? So we've kind of explained what's happening here. And so we're going to talk a little bit about what doesn't work, where it's not super helpful to intervene.
Mm-hmm. And then I'm wondering if it's helpful to do a little interaction here, just to make sure people kind of understood the cycle, right? It is not that the kids does not want to complete the college application, or they do not want to do the homework. They do want to do the homework. They want to do it too much, so much that it's causing them such distress that they cannot handle. So they're doing something else instead. What are some of the behaviors you guys see in your child or in yourself? That when maybe in yourself you have some thing at work that's really difficult, so whenever you open up a computer or whenever you even think about doing that work, you are going to scrub the toilet or do something else, or just like eat a bag of chips, or whatever. What are some of the behaviors you see in yourself or in your children that they do to cope with that distress when they're about to do a task that cause them anxiety or fear? Can people put it in the chat? Or you can just like unmute and tell us. Any questions so far? Napping.
Napping,
That's
yeah,
a good one.
that's definitely a big one. I know for me, I like cleaning out my closet. Um, okay, so definitely seeing that anxiety. And I see, yeah, he's telling you he's feeling anxious. Eating, yes, eating can definitely be a big coping mechanism and also a form of avoidance. Refilling coffee. Yeah, definitely the unimportant tasks.
Yeah, that's why when you're having important assignment due, that's when your toilet gets cleaned over and over again. Like you never clean your toilet when you don't have any assignment due.
Yeah, YouTube is definitely a big one, and you can get lost in that for indefinitely.
Mm, yeah, great, great.
Playing video games with friends. Yep, so definitely relating to Hui's house cleaning, toilet cleaning. All right.
Right, doing unimportant. Yeah, okay. Great. And then you realize that you're doing these things so that you have a temporary relief from the distress you experience. And then after you've done this, now you still have to do that thing and you have less time to do it. So you're feeling like more anxious and until this all built up and this thing basically feels basically impossible for you to do anymore.
Yeah,
Great.
you're kind of building a wall for yourself.
Mhm, mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so just as Hui said, procrastination is not the same as laziness. It can look similar, but the function is so different because the intention is not to relax and enjoy yourself. It's actually what's happening ends up being the opposite, right? We feel stressed and anxious and far from relaxed. Um, so the underlying assumption here that's, been shown through research is that students want to succeed and finish. The opposite of, and on the opposite side of anxiety is something that we care about, right? They care about this a lot. And the more pressure they feel, the more they avoid. So the excuses, just like Hui was talking about, they're developed after the fact. It's to rationalize the avoidance. Oh, I got in a fight with mom. I can't possibly do my work now. That's not the reason that they're not doing the work, right? It's the excuse for not doing the work. They serve as that coping mechanism. So this is why nagging is just ineffective at changing behavior. If it worked, we would say, yeah, go for it. That's great. So not that it's wrong, it's just not helpful.
Mhm.
All right.
Okay. Alrighty. Um, okay. And then I think about and we're talking about nagging in a broader sense here, sometimes maybe you don't say anything like, oh, I told you you should have done this, but sometimes if you say things that you think you're trying to be helpful, right? You say things like, oh, do you think this is really important? This physics exam is really important. I really want you to do well because I love you so much. But they do know that physics exam is important. That's why it caused them anxiety and fear. If they don't care, if they couldn't care less about the physics exam, they wouldn't be so anxious that they want to kind of avoid the whole thing, right? So what is happening here and how do we tackle this, right? And why nagging does not work, right? So think about this, right? So they open the computer, or sometimes they don't even open a computer. They just think about what they want to do. And just the thought of doing it is giving them so much anxiety, right? And if you at this point tell them, oh, you won't finish today if you don't get started right away. Remember to do it, right? What you're doing is that you are increasing their stress. You're like, oh, before I'm worrying about not writing a perfect essay. Now on top of that, I'm still worrying about my essay not good enough. But on top of that, I'm worrying about my mom won't approve my essay, right? You're like increasing the stress or the distress or anxiety. You're causing them more anxiety, and the more anxious they feel, the more difficult it is for them to deal with anxiety, right? And then think about the cycle, right? After they didn't do it, right? They failed. They end up playing video game all night, and they said that I'm gonna do it tomorrow, right? If now and so right now they have this negative belief that they might not be able to do it, that they are not made to do it, right? This is really difficult for them to finish. This is something that really hard for them, right? At this point, if we say something like, "Oh, I told you that you should have done it sooner," right? You didn't listen to me. You should do this, right? You're only reinforcing these negative beliefs about themselves, right? Which you are making them the next time, right? You're causing more negative beliefs. So the next time they face the same task, they have all these previous stress, right? About, other people are going to do it better, da, 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 da. And then they have added stress about, oh, my mom is not going to, if I don't do this, my mom is going to criticize me again. And such, or my parents are going to have a fight about me not finishing it, right? So you're only kind of making it worse for them. And the more pressure they feel, the more they are going to want to avoid that task, because that the spike of fear and anxiety is only getting higher, right? And sometimes I know you're trying to be really helpful, and sometimes you can say it in a very, very gentle way, right? You can even say things like, hey, like, honey, what's up with the college application? Or you can say something like, oh, is there anything I can do to help you? But because they were so anxious and they're already are in such fear of being judged, right? They're very fragile at that moment, right? They know that they're not doing the right thing. They know that they are not doing it soon enough. They wanted to do it enough. So they're very like vulnerable at this point. So even sometimes even a question or like a reminder with very good intention could cause them to feel very distressed. Um, and cause them to want to avoid it even more, right? So let's do a thought exercise, right? So let's say that you are a runner, right? And you want to start waking up in the morning. You want to wake up at 5:30 before work. You're going to go out and run 5 miles and come back, right? And you really want to do it. Nobody is forcing you to do it. You believe you should run, and you believe running is good for you. You think this is important, right? And you are setting goals for yourself. You're like, I'm gonna do this number of miles at this pace at this distance, right? But then in the morning when you are 5:30, the alarm sounds, you don't do it, right? So like, how do you think, what do you think would be helpful for you to actually do get up and start running? What do you think is not helpful for you, right? How do you overcome the pressure, right? So why don't we put it in the chat, right? You want to run, right? You want to get up at 5:30, that's or 6, that's not to be crazy, like 6:30, and we're running for 1 mile, right? And then you truly believe this is good for you, and you truly want to do it, right? So what are some things that you can do, your partner can do, right? Your wife or your husband or your mom can do to help you? And what are some things that they might do that they're trying to be helpful but ends up really not helpful, right?
Yeah,
I
so
like
yeah, some things that are helpful is someone to run with, running in a group so they can go together, registering for a race. So setting, yeah, a goal for yourself.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Even
Yeah.
it's late, just still go out, even you run like go out, run like half a mile, right? A quarter mile, still better than not running at all, right? But if I have this idea in my head that my run has to be perfect, it has to be 5 miles as at this exact pace, right? Once I miss that part, once I go, oh, it's like 6:15, there's no way I can do this today. Otherwise, I'm going to be late for work and I'm not going to do it at all, right? Right. So that's just thought experiment, right? So what if, like I'm going to run, right? What if my husband tells me, Hui, do you know how good running will be for you? Like, do you understand the benefit of running? How do you think this is going to be helpful for me? Like my husband telling me the importance or the benefit of running. No, right? Because I want to do it. Like I care about it so much. Right? Not at all, right? Right. I'll be annoyed, right? Right. And what if I go and I just like, I didn't do it for a day and then or I did it but not very well. And my husband, my husband come here and be like, wait, like that wasn't a very good run, right? Like that, you could have done better. If you have done better, you would have become a better runner and you would have lower blood pressure or whatever, all these benefits, right? How does that help me or not help me? I like what Kathy says about giving self some reward when I get to run. Yep. Right. If he dares to say anything, I'm not going to run at all. Right. Exactly. That's how our children feel is that, you know what? I'm already like feeling like very bad about this. And then if you say anything, you know what? Just forget about it. I can't. I'm not going to do it anymore. Right? Not helpful. But what is going to be helpful for me is that my husband say like, hey, let me do it with you. Why don't we do it together? And he said something like, you know what, this was really hard for me too. Like when I was trying to run, I was also, but even if you got up, if you're late, just go take a walk. Like take a short walk and come back. That's fine. Right. And tomorrow we're gonna try again, right? Or he breaks it down, right? Tomorrow we're gonna just take a walk for like 10 days and then we're gonna slowly increase that, right? What else can you guys think of that are also going to be helpful if I want to run? I
I think,
like someone says giving myself some reward. Yeah.
yeah, definitely the reward after the fact. I also think, uh, it doesn't have to be the same exact task, but if Hui's husband gets up at the same time as her and does something that he really wants to do or accomplishes a goal he wants to achieve, then they're
Right.
still like doing it together, right? Because you're not
Mm-hmm.
going to be filling out your college applications, um,
Right.
but you could be working towards a goal at the same time.
Right. Right. And if he wants to be even more empathetic, he could say something like, "Oh, it was hard for me to do this thing too, let's do it together. We're all going through this." So let's talk about what does work, right? What can we do, right? So this is where we act, right? So we were talking about do not act before the task and do not say anything after the fact that they didn't do it. You're like, oh, right? This is where when you see that they are opening their computer, they're starting to get these anxious, thoughts about it. And this is where you act, right? And we're going to do something that to help to manage the fear and anxiety, right? So the amazing thing about this is that when you actually experiencing so much anxiety, right, fear, and goes up this, right? But if you stick to it, right? If you're like, no, I'm not going to watch TV, I'm not going to play Mario's, right? I'm not going to scrub my toilet. I'm sticking with it. And this gets really bad, but guess what? This calms down, right? You don't die from it, right? You don't be like, oh, right, like this is, you actually like this starts to kind of become easier and easier to manage, right? But guess what? And then maybe I end up doing my work. Maybe I did some running, right? So maybe here is that this child actually finished their work, right? What happens when they finish their work? It kind of tackled the negative beliefs. Now they have confidence. Now they have some success stories. Now they can tell themselves, oh, it was really hard, but I did it. It turns out I could do some writing. Turns out I could do some math, right? So the next time they face the same math or same essay or same task, or they're not going to have as much of fear or anxiety, right? And then that's easier for them to manage. And if they do this multiple times, they are going to change this behavior to believe that, you know what, I can do this, right? And so this fear and anxiety gets lower and lower, and this negative belief become a positive belief about they feel empowered, like actually I can do this. Mhm.
So there's
Right.
a question in the chat, Hui. Do you want me to read it to you?
Mhm. Oh, I see. Do you recommend to finish application draft in the summer? Right. It depends, right? So I really like this question because over here, right? The closer you are to the deadline, the more anxiety and fear you have when you do the task, right? So when you have time to finish, you are not going to experience that much anxiety and fear, right? You're like, oh, I still have time, so I'm gonna do it a little by little, right? But if the task is due tomorrow, right, you're gonna have a lot of anxiety and fear, and then this feels impossible. So I think it does make sense to do the draft as early as possible. But just telling them, hey, I think you should do your draft in the summer is not going to be very helpful, right? We have to break it down for them, right? But I do agree, and the earlier they do it, they have the easier time they will have. Let me clear this and let me go to the next slide, which I'm trying to, right? So what we're going to do is that we're going to kind of balance this, right? We're going to think about what the power it takes or the dopamine it takes to overcome this and think about the resistance, right? So think about a task like watching TV, right? Watching or playing Mario's, right? Um, how much dopamine, how much pleasure does it give me? A lot of pleasure, right? How much resistance does it have? Very low resistance. It doesn't really take much for me to play Mario or watch TV. I'm just sitting there watch TV. So this is an easy task, right? This pleasure is bigger than a resistance, right? But think about if I'm doing chemistry and let's say like I'm so scared of chemistry, right? How much pleasure do I get from doing chemistry? Very little, because I don't really enjoy doing it. I don't think I'm very good at it, right? I don't really get a sense of accomplishment when I do chemistry. And maybe I don't have that internal sense of accomplishment when I do chemistry. Every time I do chemistry, maybe I feel so bad. Maybe I feel like, oh my God, I'm so dumb, right? And I don't get that, kind of sense of accomplishment, right? Um, and maybe I don't get a lot of external sense of achievement too, right? But how much resistance do I have? I have a lot of resistance, right? So when this bar is lower than this bar, we're not going to be able to do it. So what we're going to do is to even out the two bar, right? We're both going to increase the sense of either internal sense of accomplishment or external reward, right? And we're going to lower the resistance. How do we do that, right? Um, okay, to work on this side, right? So some of the things that we can do is that maybe I don't have a lot of sense of accomplishment when I do my college essay because I'm just not very good at writing, right? But if I add some external reward, right, every time I write one sentence, I give myself a point, and every time I collect 5 points, I get to watch my favorite TV show, or I guess to go get, depends on what you like, right? I get to have a sleepover with my best friends, right? So that's like increasing this bar, right? What's so good about this is that when I become, when I like do more and more of this writing that I'm not very good at, like when I do more and more, I get actually more sense of internal sense of accomplishment too. And maybe I'm like, wait a minute, maybe I am able to do some writing, right? And maybe writing is actually kind of enjoyable, right? So you get an increase. So you're gonna start with rewarding yourself externally just to get yourself started. And by doing it over and over again, you're gonna get better and better at it. And when you get better and better at it, maybe someday you don't need that external reward anymore because this task has become intrinsically enjoyable for you, right? You actually like to do it, right? And on the other hand, we're going to decrease that resistance. How do we do this? We're going to break down the task into very, very teeny tiny steps so that it takes very little effort to actually do it, right? So if we're writing a 5-page essay, the first step is going to be I'm going to open a Word document and save that document as the title of my essay. That is the first step. When I'm done with this step, I'm going to give myself a point, right? So you're decreasing the resistance, right? It's not so hard to open a Word document. Everybody could open a Word document and save it, right? And the next step is to write the first word. Everybody can write one word, right? Just put that down, whatever that word is, put it down on paper. And then I completed that, right? Like I give myself some reward, right? So decrease this and increase this. And one thing I really like to say in our prep program, coaching in our training is that if a task does not get done, the steps are not small enough, right? And we need to break it into very, very small and manageable pieces so the students do not feel overwhelmed. So I want to go back to this question about, do you recommend to finish application draft in the summer? Right? Yes, right? The earlier you finish a draft, the more time you have to revise it to think about it, right? But the question is that how do we get a student to do a draft in the summer, right? Just telling you, hey, you should do it in the summer, or hey, you should do it earlier is not going to be helpful, right? But what is going to be helpful is to help them break these tasks, right? Like maybe think about how many essays do you need to write, right? Maybe one main essay, two supplemental essays, right? For this main essay, how many steps are there, right? Step one, open a document. Think about where you're going to put it. Step two, right? Think about like brainstorming. What is going to be your first paragraph? What is going to be your second paragraph? What is going to be the first sentence of your first paragraph, right? If someone can sit down with you, kind of really break it down for them and they can do it step by step, that is going to be much easier than saying, hey, finish your draft or finish your thing. So when you ask a question, right, do not ask, oh, have you done your essay? Ask like, help them break it down into smaller steps. And then so this is what kind of, we recommend, and this is also how we help our students complete either their college essay or their assignment. In our work, we have coaches who coach students to all kinds of work, their homework, et cetera, et cetera. And then kind of all follows the same principle. Is that first, break the task into smaller chunks, like I said, and increase external reward. After I write one sentence, I give myself something. And after I collect how much I get to do what I want to do, right? And limit distractions. And I want to talk a little bit more about limit distractions. Right? Kids are so they are faced with so many distractions nowadays. And I think we have to approach it carefully, right? If you say like, Johnny, like I'm gonna take your phone away, I'm gonna take your computer away, I'm gonna cut your internet because that's distracting for you. And Johnny might become very resistant, be like, my mom is the worst, right? You don't understand, right? But if we talk to them like, hey, Johnny, so there is something we call motivational interviewing, which is something that we also train our executive functioning coach to use. Be like, hey, Johnny, like I know you're trying to complete your thing, and I kind of notice that every time you do that, you kind of spend a lot of time on your phone. Like, how does that help you or not help you? And you can even share some of your personal stories. Like, like when I was in school, or, actually earlier today when I was at work, I was trying to complete this statistics analysis assignment or whatever. And it was really hard for me. So I ended up being on social media for like an hour. And actually at that point, I wish someone say like, hey, like you actually need to do this, right? I wish someone would be able to hold me accountable for that, right? Do you want someone to kind of do that to me? Because I know you care about this chemistry, or I know you care about this college essay, right? We have to do it very careful. And then just kind of get started, right? We don't talk about this, right? That's why I kind of, we're talking about how, executive functioning coaching. And one of the things that why our program works is that we don't really talk, we teach you strategies. We teach you how to use a planner. We teach you how to use a calendar, set an alarm, etc. We do teach you these things. But one hallmark of things we do is that let's do it right now. Just open it right now. Let's get it done. Let's get it started. Instead of like, we can talk a lot about it, but if by the end of the day, you don't do it, it's really like not helpful, right? So let's do it right here, right now. Just open your computer right now. We're gonna do it together with you. Amanda, do you want to talk about the 70-20-10 rule?
Yeah, I before I do that, I just want to emphasize the external rewards. And I think
Mhm.
sometimes that has a specific connotation. Like you hear the word reward and you think of, like an M&M or an ice cream cone or money or something like that. But it can be like, okay, I'm gonna write one sentence and then I'm gonna let myself clean my toilet. Right? It can be the thing that you're going to do to avoid. But you just want to make sure you have a really small goal that's related directly to the task you're about to do. And you want to do that first, because then we're breaking that cycle. So the reward really it doesn't have to be something tangible. But when we think of the 70-20-10 rule, volume is the emphasis there. So the idea is we only 10% of the things that we produce are going to be great or perfect. So in order to get that 10%, we have to do 70% of things that are really just done, right? Not so good. And then 20% that is good or acceptable, passable, in order to get that 10% of perfection. So we really got to increase the volume. And this is helpful for people who tend towards perfectionism, because if they're kind of following this rule with their tasks, then they can feel like, okay, I know that 10% can be perfect because I've done this other stuff that fits into that 70 or 20% category that's not so great. So we're kind of targeting those cognitions there a little bit too with the perfectionism.
Right. Speaking of external reward, Amanda, you reminded me. I want to ask people this question because I know your organization PCE talks a lot about parenting. You guys are learned a whole lot about parenting. There was one theory that says you should never externally reward a child for something that they would intrinsically want to do. Right? Do you guys hear that theory? There was a lot of talk about do not reward yourself externally. Let them have intrinsic motivation to do their work. Do you guys hear that a lot, or do you believe that? I want to, kind of explain how that works. I think there's a lot of misunderstanding around this, right? In the chat, maybe put down like, what you believe you do. Yes, heard of it, right? The theory is that you should never reward a child for reading. Otherwise, they're going to just read to get that reward. get that TV time or whatever reward you're providing, right? Right. So I want to be very clear that what the research says, right? The research says do not externally reward people for things that they already enjoy doing, right? The research never says never externally reward anyone or never reward people for doing something that they don't know how to do yet, right? That's not what it says, right? Let me kind of break it down really. I'm hoping, how can I break it down? Hold on. I'm getting a whiteboard. Okay. Okay. Let's just say that writing is your favorite activity. You just cannot wait to write, right? You like writing, you write journals, etc., right? So every time you write something, you get this amount of pleasure. Like this is the amount of pleasure you get when, like, this is the intrinsic amount of pleasure you get, right? Like without any reward, when you do writing, you feel this good, this amount of pleasure to do it, right? And then every time you write, you remember, oh, writing was, wait, where did that go? Wait, hold on. Okay, this amount of, okay. You feel this good, right? And then the next day you write, you also kind of feel this good, right? You feel this good. And then the third day you write, you feel this good, right? You're feeling this good. And then someone come to you and be like, Hui, I love your writing. Every time you write, I'm going to give you some ice cream, right? So I'm like, oh, I got this amount of pleasure for actually doing the actual writing. And then on top of that, I got, wait, hold on. I'm gonna do some like trying to do something here. I get this amount, right? And then, but I also got this amount of reward for the ice cream. So I remember writing was this much fun. It was this amount, the red amount of intrinsic joy, and the blue represent like the external reward I got, right? So what I remember is that writing was this fun, right? The next time I do writing, I'm expecting how much fun. I'm expecting this amount of fun, right? But next time there was nobody here to say, "Wait, here's ice cream for your writing," right? So I experienced this much fun as usual, but like, hey, writing kind of feels disappointing. I'm disappointed because I remember it being that much fun, but now I'm kind of experiencing this much fun, right? So kind of this is the theory, right? This is the research about why you should never reward yourself or a child for something that they already enjoy. But that's not what we're talking about here, right? We're talking about this, how much joy does this child get for writing? Zero right now, zero, right? So they ends up not doing it where they hate doing it, right? So what you're trying to do is that you're trying to say, if you do your writing, I'm gonna, you get to watch some TV. So you're trying to create some motivation, right, for them to feel good. The next time like they are gonna do writing, be like, oh, I remember writing was at least this much fun, right? And then actually you want to do this over and over again so that this child actually start enjoy writing, right? So maybe in the future when they write, and they're like, oh, you know what? Looks like I can do this. It wasn't like that terrible, right? So maybe they also get some kind of intrinsic, internal joy from it, right? And then you can kind of decrease the external motivation. I hope that makes sense. I was just doing this whole thing on the fly, but I really hope that I clarified that the research never ever said that you should not reward yourself. That's not what it says. It's such a misunderstanding of the research. Okay, I went on a tangent. Now I'm back. Okay. Um, okay, so that's like kind of how we tackle this, right? So we're gonna now have Maddie and Ian share what we're going to do to help the student we shared in the beginning.
Okay. So basically, a simplified version of what Dr. Hui and Dr. Amanda were saying before, was create a schedule to map out what you have to do. It's really easy to kind of get lost in the idea of setting goals for yourself. So, creating a rough outline of your work ahead of time and breaking tasks down into smaller, simpler, more achievable steps, like they were saying before, can really positively impact your work ethic, and it could also make the task seem a little bit less daunting. And also, it's really important to limit time to certain tasks. Don't spend, 15 hours or all-nighter just working on one portion of your essay, in Emily's case. Um, Break it up into, I'll spend 10 minutes working on this part, 10 minutes working on this part, and in total, I'll work an hour each day on this. By breaking it up into that certain time limit, it'll make it a little bit less daunting and more achievable. It's also really important to look at a task in context. So, really important to keep your perspective on your outlook on the situation very positive. And to do that, you can also increase motivation. So, watch a short episode of your favorite show or something like that. In Emily's case, let's say her favorite show is a baking show on Netflix. If she watches her baking show on Netflix for a couple days, a couple hours or a couple minutes before or after she writes her essay, then it can motivate her to continue her task. And also, if she notices that she's spending too much time watching Netflix, then she can ask her mom or her friend to control the Netflix password and only let her sign in and use Netflix after she completes each task. So that's really helpful as well. And just to continue on that, more like emotional thing is to really be aware of self-acceptance. So in Emily's case, reminding herself that struggle is not a reflection of self-worth can really lead to a sense of connection and belonging. Because at the end of the day, there's no such thing as a perfect essay or a perfect college application because humans are intrinsically flawed and we make certain decisions. So it's really important to understand that struggle is really not the definition of who you are. It's just showing your resilience and showing your perseverance during this process. And to follow up on that, changing your perspective is really important as well. So viewing situations as a glass half full instead of a glass half empty could be really good. Instead of seeing things as character flaws, use them as opportunities to learn more about yourself. Because ultimately, the fear of failure is the fear of success. And last but not least is to see the bigger picture. Again, it's just about your perspective and try to focus on the meaning of the activity. If something brings you joy and purpose, if something intrinsically makes you happy, then it doesn't matter if it's done perfectly or done in a certain way, because if it intrinsically makes you happy, you'll be more motivated to do it. So again, learning to embrace mistakes by viewing them as learning opportunities is really important, especially in the college application process where it's very challenging and very difficult. It's really important to view it as a step-by-step process rather than an all or nothing situation.
Great. Great. Thanks, Maddie.
Ian, before you start, there's a question in the chat. So when we think about the most effective reward system, it really is individualized because the whole point of positive reinforcement is that the thing you're rewarding yourself with increases the behavior you want to see. So in this case, if doing your college application is the behavior you want to see, then it has to be something desired for that person. So you really need to work with the person you're trying to motivate to come up with something that is a good reward. So like it would be very different what would help Hui get out of bed to run in the morning from what would help me to get out of bed to run in the morning. And probably if Hui's husband was like trying to encourage me to get out of bed in the morning, it wouldn't really matter too much to me. So you really do have to think about what the person you're trying to motivate wants.
Yeah, essentially, this is a conversation you should have with your child, right? This is like one of the conversation our coach have with our clients all the time. Be like, what motivates you? So there is really isn't some people like us like a list of potential rewards we give, right? We could give a list, but that's not going to be helpful, right? You have to think about what motivates your child. You know them, right? Or you ask them, have a conversation with them. Amanda, I think the question is about how the reward bar keeps being elevated. I'm not sure I fully understand, but I take it being, so maybe say like, right now, maybe I reward this child for completing like 1 page of math, and then maybe like they continue to require that, or that they require, you have to, now they want 10 minutes of video game for finishing 1 page of math, but now they're asking for 20 minutes of video game time for doing the same amount of math.
Yeah, so you want to try to work in the opposite direction. But for something like a college application, that's time limited. So I guess the moment I read your question, I thought of like my salary. I get an increase in pay regularly, right? Because that's how salaries work. So the reward bar there does keep getting higher. But especially with a time limited task like college applications, potentially it's okay to increase the
Right.
motivation if the task is getting a little bit harder or the deadline is approaching faster. But for things that are more consistent, like homework generally, we want to think about instead of 10 minutes on your video games for 1 page of math or something, instead it's 2 pages of math for 10 minutes of video games. So you want to try to work in that direction for longer tasks. Because
Right,
the
right.
idea, like as Quay was demonstrating, is that you're building that confidence and motivation and that intrinsic motivation as you're using the external rewards. So we're shrinking the external reward over the long term as that motivation is increasing.
And one thing I want to add is that don't forget to break the task down, right, into small steps and reward them. When you give them a reward, you want them to get it, right? Like you want them to be successful, right? So one common mistake I see from many parents be like, oh, I'm gonna reward you with this big vacation once you complete the entire application, but they cannot, right? They are not, right? Like they need someone to break it down for them, right? And one mom told me, like, I told my daughter, if she completes assignment by 9 p.m. every day, she's going to get her phone, right? But she didn't break it down. So she told me every day at 8:55, her daughter like becomes fanatic, be like, I need to do my homework right now, and she doesn't get it done, and she never gets the reward, right? So what could have happened with this mom is that the daughter gets home at 5, and she break it down. She checks the homework, see what's due, and she said, let's do maybe you have 2 pages of math, you have two paragraphs of this, and then we do it, make it into like 10 small pieces. And every time you've done one of these pieces, you come here and I give you a point or something, or a check mark or something, right? So like so you're checking in with her every 10 minutes instead of giving her 3 full hours to spend, and at the end she's going to fail, right? And so with that whole vacation story, if you complete your college application, I'm going to reward you with a vacation, right? Break it down, right? When you finish the first paragraph of your first essay, I'm going to give you a check mark. And when you finish the second paragraph, I'm going to give you this. And when you kind of accumulate this, and maybe like 20 check marks leads to a vacation of some sort, right? Of some sort, right? So really breaking it down for them is the key.
Yeah, sorry. I'm sure you can tell that Hui and I could probably talk about this forever, and I want to be mindful of time. But one, just to, I guess, like piggyback off of that, a lot of people feel like we shouldn't reward things that should be done, right? My kid just should do this, right? They're old enough. If they can't do it now, they're never going to learn. But if they could do it, they would. And so we want to also think about rewards again as like a catalyst to bring them to the point where they can do it on their own. So the assumption is they could if they would, or they would if they could.
Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah, just remember your kids also care so much about college application. They want to do it. They want to get it done. They're just like unable to do it and they need some help, right? Okay. Um, in Europe.
Okay. So yeah, battling procrastination, right? So for Ryan, the first thing you can do is reset your work environment. So like when we were looking at Ryan, we know that his work environment wasn't really the best, right? Even when he was starting his applications and stuff, he still had Grey's Anatomy in the background or whatever, and he still had Super Mario there. Maybe his Super Mario was just like a couple feet away from him. The point is that they are distractions, and Ryan, being a smart kid, he knows that those things are a distraction. He knows that Grey's Anatomy and Super Mario is distractions, and he really does want to complete his applications, but he simply lacks the discipline to do so. So instead, you can have him work in a space without these distractions, such as sitting next to his mother, who may be working alongside him, and it's kind of like checking up on him. Um, you can also set some clear goals, like writing to-do lists and breaking tasks down into smaller steps, so that you're more motivated to complete them and you're not as overwhelmed. Because obviously, tackling this one huge goal may seem too far of a stretch, and you can set deadlines for these steps. And finally, I mean, we just talked a lot about the importance of rewards, but once Ryan does these tasks, you could reward him with TV with Grey's Anatomy or Super Mario, just so that he has more of this incentive to complete his applications. So, yep. And the last one here is time management techniques. So there's this very famous one called the Pomodoro technique, Pomodoro method. And it's just like long periods of work and then there's a quick short break and then another long period of work. It's just a cycle like that. That kind of just gives you that routine so that you can continue pushing through while working. And having a timer can also be great because it help you keep yourself accountable. And you know that you have that time duration where you're not supposed to be looking at anything else but your work. So yeah, so these kind of things can really help with dealing with procrastination.
Great. That is our presentation. Right. I do want to tell you guys about kind of what we offer here, what we can do, right? So we kind of really encourage parents to do it, to kind of utilize these strategies that we talk about. And in the meantime, we realize that it's actually not always successful for parents to implement these strategies. So we do have services available that I'm going to actually put this website in the chat. So if you go to our website, which is the prep program, and you're going to see, if you kind of click on college application and this tab, you're going to see that we offer 3 services. Um, so for these students who kind of just needs a accountability, needs a coach to kind of work with them, break it down for them, break down the task, put things on schedule, right? What needs to be done by what time, right? We offer a college application accountability group, and this group is going to run from October to December. We're going to meet every Sunday from 2 to 5 p.m. The students are gonna come and they're gonna have a coach. This coach is gonna look at what still needs to be done in their college application, right? Do they need to fill out the application? How many essays they need to write? If they're applying for multiple schools, you need to have what done by when, right? And they are going to set their deadline for them, and they're going to say, let's do this right now. I'm gonna check in with you every 10 minutes and give you some kind of check mark, right? To check in with you every 10 minutes or so to make sure you're on track. And you're actually literally going here and you're working on your application. And these coaches are almost like older peers. So they're kind of very relatable, right? They know, like they've gone through this themselves. And then so they're going to kind of be like an older, almost like a mentor, right? To guide your child to finish the application, step by step. And then because they know about the college application process, they're going to know, oh, they need to complete their first draft of essay by what day, and the second draft of their first revision by what day, and they need to actually start working on their common app by what day, and what needs to be done, right? If your student is working with a college counselor, our coach will be able to work with your college counselor. So your college, a lot of people I know, a lot of people hire a college consultant, right? The good thing about college consultants is that they help you to do it. But one of the frustrating things that we continue to hear from all these college consultants that I would tell the student to do X, Y, and Z, and next week they come back, they didn't do any of that. Or what can I do, right? So we actually do work with these consultants, be like, send the list of the things, the X, Y, and Z, the things to our coach. And our coach on Sunday in Zoom will help your student break it down and help them actually get these done, and we'll communicate with you, right? So this is one group that we're offering, right? Another thing we're offering is, this is for students who are kind of just know what to do and are able to do it, but just procrastinate or have perfectionism, and they keep saying that I'm gonna do it tomorrow, I'm gonna do it tomorrow, but never get it done, right? So this is to keep them on track, right? But some students, maybe they need more help brainstorming what to write in their essay, right? And then we actually understand that a lot of these college essay writing services cost like thousands of dollars, right? But actually, so Eileen's going to talk more tomorrow, but she's going to offer a almost like a per section and pay as you go kind of service. So instead of paying like $5,000 to someone to help you write your essay, maybe all you need is to meet with Eileen once or twice. So you just only pay that price for her to give you some guidance so you can write it on yourself, right? And if your child not only struggle with college application, but senior year is so tough, or maybe they're in junior year, they're struggling with maintaining a good grades, they're keeping up with their schoolwork, they're signing themselves up for way too much extracurricular activities, right? Way too many activities, way too many homework, and they're struggling to get any homework done or get a lot of homework done. Their grades start slipping, right? So we have one-on-one coaching. So this is a college application accountability group. This is a group, right? But we have intensive one-on-one coaching where you will be assigned one coach, and this coach is going to meet with you twice a week to not only help you finish your college application, but this coach is going to help you monitor your school portal, your school system, help you see what's due this week, and help you actually get your homework and other school related assignment done. So if this is what your student need, you can kind of, sign up for this option as well. Sandra, I'm gonna give it back to you.
Thank you. Thank you, Hui. This is just time just flies. Thank you. I realize that the college application is just tough, right? So I'm thinking that all the parents here, and even maybe if your case is not yet in the college application yet, you heard about it. So what I recall that my first two daughters, they were not using a college counselor or anything, right? I remember the kind of stress, the kind of anxiety they went through, and I remember my anxiety because I know nothing. I just like, are you done with this? Are you sure? I think I did all the things, Amanda, Hui, you said not to do. But so now actually, one of my daughter is applying for college now. I look into the program, I realize there are college lists, right? There are activity lists. You need to choose from your like school or outside school activity. You need to showcase you to be like physically active, to be like to have empathetic kind of social involvement, to have academic involvement. So there's a lot of things you need to put together. And also there's this essay, there's this common essay, there's this special supplement essay, there are school, what's that, recommendation letters. There's so many things. So
So many different,
yeah,
yeah.
I can think about it's very challenging. I know the common college kind of consulting kind of easily charge like 9,000, 10,000. Even I heard the highest I heard is 100,000. I was shocked. I was shocked, right? So I'm thinking that this is very helpful, especially for those kids um, who have the capability to do it, but they might be like putting too much anxiety on themselves in terms of um, consciously or even subconsciously keep delaying it or uh, like rush to. I heard people saying that some people just rush until the 12 a.m. deadline is like finally since just like whatever you just submitted, you just don't miss the deadline. I'm thinking this is amazing that now we have a very affordable program for people to put their kids in, their students in, so that they are just like the morning exercise. They're running in groups, right? And I know that you have this coupon code that is posted with our flyer. Let me see if I have the flyer handy here. Yeah, let me. So basically, if people just show this coupon code of PCE 50, they could get the $50 uh, off of their registration. And if you can, so we realize that people come here today are really have the most need for this service, right? So people who register today and till Sunday night, 12 a.m., uh, I believe you also give a coupon for another $50 off. So basically the first month, which is the most critical month of October, right? You started from October the 1st, October, right? October, you'll have $100 off for the families who register today and tomorrow. So this way, the student can work in the group and together with peers, and each would have individually coached by the coach on what they're supposed to do, how they structure their time, how they make up a schedule. And whenever they are finishing one task, they could submit to the coach. The coach can help them read through it, give some ideas. So basically, this is something that the kids do it by themselves. And via this like self-initiative. So when they finish, they truly feel good. They truly feel that nobody kind of make me somebody I'm not, right? But I am myself, and I am submitting all the things I've done. And also I'm the one who craft all these things together. So this is different from the tens of thousands, even 100,000 programs. This is about executive function management, right? So to have to give kids the opportunity and anonymous to so that they can do their own stuff in their own style, but do it in a structured way, during a structured time slot, and working with a coach. So so we have the link here, and people you can scan the code. Let me put on the
Yeah, I don't
slide.
know how, like the landscape of college application has changed drastically over the past few years,
Oh,
right?
definitely.
Before it used to be just like you submit an application, you write one essay and you kind of change it slightly for each college, right? But right now it gets like 10 times more complicated. It's asking you for like to list all of your awards and then ask you to list all of your activities. It gets way too complicated. That, like we're hoping this group, like the kids can work together. And then also you have questions, right? You're feeding this out, be like, am I supposed to put this in, or what is this
Yes.
question asking, right? So if they have someone in the group with them, they can ask the coach, like, hey, what am I supposed to do it here? What is this question asking? So they can keep going versus, oh, I encounter a question I don't know, so I'm gonna go watch TV now.
Yeah, right.
Mhm.
I look at the activity section. It's like if the kids do so much, right, in their school year, and they might have 20 activities, like which one they want to put, right? Which first, which second, right? The coach
Right.
could work with you on that. So could like you can submit your list. Maybe then it's all academic and all your physical education kind of you drop that. You forgot that you run the cross country, all those things. Or or maybe you put too much fun stuff, but you forget to put the like highly emphasize on the academic stuff. So those are the things that the coach can help you to kind of organize and also ask you to stay on top of your task and keep managing your own task well. So this is the coupon code. You could scan this code to register, or you can just actually you scan this code. Even you don't register, you can browse through what other program from your phone. And then when you enter the promo code, then enter the PCE 100. So this is the special offer that the prep organization gave to PCE for people who attend the meeting today and tomorrow. So, and also tomorrow, the same time at 9 o'clock, we're going to have another session, which is how to write your college essay. So it is like vividly display who you are, describe who you are. So make your character, make your personality stand out from so many applications so that people can see you. People can see you as who you are. So very authentically and very interestedly. So that's going to be given by Eileen tomorrow, right? So let me see that is let me just put it here. So that is the seminar tomorrow, and tomorrow the same thing. Between today and tomorrow, if you join this service, book this service, you always enter PCE 100, PCE 100 to get the discount. So this is a very innovative way of helping 12th grade student to apply for college, right? This is not a traditional way, but so when I talk with a few young people, actually this happened to be a way that they are much willing to accept. There are some of the kids, they don't want any college counselor. Not that they want to save money for their parents, but simply because their parents want to have it, they don't want it. So this way, kind of ensure you to have an organized way and work with people so that you feel you're working within a certain guidance, right? So
Great.
let's see if there's questions from the audience. And I know we're a few minutes over our time. So if there's no questions, we'll just thank you. Thanks, Hui. Thanks to Amanda and Maddie and Ing. Thank you all for bringing this very time kind of sensitive material in front of the parents. So we all know how to help kids go through this tough time. Thank you very
Yeah.
much. Right.
Thank
Yeah,
And
I also put our email address in the chat. So if you guys think of any question, you can, feel free to email us, and Amanda and I
yeah,
will get back to you. And if you guys want to kind of talk over the phone about any of these services, we're happy to schedule a time so we can talk over the phone about various services that your child might need.
Yeah. Thank you so much for having us, and thank you everybody for your engagement.
thank you. Thank you
All
all.
right.
Yeah, good night.
Like,
Bye, everybody. Bye. Thanks for being here.
Bye.
Bye.
Mhm.